We're diving into Star Wars Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2. It's a nostalgic voyage into the unknown, and we're going to talk all about it and spoil the whole thing. So if you haven't watched it, go back and check it out, and then come back and see the show after that. All right, guys, here we go. Star Wars Skeleton Crew has premiered on Disney+, introducing us to a fresh narrative set in the New Republic era. The series follows 4 children from the suburban planet of Adaten, who, after discovering a hidden starship, find themselves lost in the vast and perilous galaxy. These opening episodes lay the groundwork for a coming-of-age adventure that blends the wonder of classic 80s films with the expansive lore of Star Wars. What's up, my noddles? Okay, so let me go ahead and set the scene. Like much Star Wars, this opens not with a crawl, but with some text. Lets us know some things. We find out, first up, I had no clue this was going to be during the New Republic era. Maybe it had been said somewhere. I don't know why I didn't know this, per se. When it begins, the text tells us that the outer edges of space have been dealing with pirates. Like, that's a thing. We're introduced to pirates right out the gate. We witnessed the brutal pirate attack by Captain Silvo and his formidable enforcer, Brutus. You know, there's an intensity about this opening scene that I appreciate, mainly because for me, it looks very much like they want to set up and establish out the gate a few things. And they want to set up not only that what the crawl said was true, but the literal brutality of it. Now, what it does is it sets the stakes right just to start with sky high. So now you know what you're dealing with. Boom. Cut to their version of an intro. And then we're introduced to Star Wars Suburbia, which I thought was fun. Overall, I really do appreciate what this show is doing. And we're going to talk more, obviously, about some of the various aspects of it. I know that I'm going to be talking about it more on nerd fights and whatnot. When we transition to Adaten, we meet Wim. He's a dreamer. He's a young boy with dreams of adventure. His dad is stoic. His mom is no longer in the picture. He's going to school. He gets on a bus. He's got his friend Neil. Neil's the sort of alien elephant-looking kid.
You should not have come here.
With the trunk and the whole bit. But he's very nice. Neil's a super cool kid. And Neil's got a little crush on a girl in school and the whole 9 yards, and the kids are going back and forth and whatnot. And they get a visit from the assistant to the assistant, not principal, but the assistant to the head of the... Okay, I don't want to... I'm funny. I'm doing a spoiler review, but I also don't want to spoil things before it's time. So this is a colony of some kind. You actually find that out a little bit later. They establish very quickly some things, and as he's on his bus, because they catch the tram rather, there's this, we get to meet 2 more characters. We get to meet Fern and her friend KB. Fern is the young lady you see from the trailers. This gal right here. Fern, super tough, no nonsense, all business. Her mother was the head secretary lady who came to the class and met women all in whatnot. So the mother established, they establish out the gate that this is going to be the school is getting ready for, I guess, the equivalent of placement exams, which are going to set you on the path that you're going to be on.
Today I've taken time out of my very busy schedule to come talk about something near and dear to my heart. Tomorrow's career assessment test.
It's funny, as Mrs. Know-It-All and I are watching this, she mentioned that, so Salty has feelings and reservations about Andor and how Andor does some things. And she says, you know, the more I listen to Salty, the more I realize he might have a point, and he might have a point. So when she's there, the character of Fern, she feels, it's funny, she doesn't feel like anything other than a very clearly archetypal I'm a strong girl, and you're going to make sure you know this, and blah, blah. And you can tell she's kind of trying to live up to her mother's expectations and ideals. She's very much a Leia-esque archetype, or at least an analog of, say, that kind of character. And I'm here for it. I don't have an issue with that. The next day, which is the day they're going to do their placement exams, Wim sleeps in. Now, the reason he slips in is because his dad, who's an accounting person or whatever, is working a lot. Major project has come up. His dad's not going to be home a lot that week. So earlier, his dad gave him his lunch money for the week in these Republic credits. And so he puts them in his pocket. Why not? So as he rushes to get to the tram, Neil sees him coming. The tram takes off. He's like, I'm going to take a shortcut. He goes to opens up the garage, grabs his bike, which is a hover bike. Everyone's riding hover bikes. And that's how we saw Fern and KB earlier on the hover bike. And until the point that on the way home, that first day, the bike broke down. And so Fern and them, they need a power converter. First thing I said to Mrs. Know-It-All was, head over to Tashi Station. Apparently that's where all the power converters are. Just saying. So what does Wim do? He gets on the bike and he rushes and he tries to go to a back area and he's taking whatnot and he crashes and he ends up going down this little gulch or ravine and finding what looks like a door. Now let me tell you a little bit about Wim. Wim is so adventure, starstruck, Jedi, whatever, all of it. And Wim is convinced he's discovered a Jedi temple. He gets caught by a couple of droids because he's in what's called a danger zone area, an area that should not be, they shouldn't be going into. And so what happens is he goes to see his dad. His dad's upset at him, but his dad clearly only has one thing in his mind, which is work and whatnot. And his dad tells him, he's like, hey, I got the headmaster. They're going to give you the test tomorrow. You're going to go home. You're going to study. You're already taking 50-point loss, so you can't miss a single answer. Wim is only worried about this, what he thinks is a Jedi temple. When he gets to where this temple is, Fern and KB are already there. They've already discovered that this thing is here, but they don't know how to open it or know anything about it. So they convince the boys to work for them because it's so funny. Oh my gosh, Fern pisses me off so much. Not as a character, but like as a character, like the way she is as a person. And so Wim and them, they happen to accidentally open the thing up. And when they open it up, they go in and they find what looks like the body of a robot. As they find this thing, they hear his dad searching for him. Why? Because he told his dad about the place. He's like, oh my gosh, maybe that's where my son went. Because his dad came home, Wim wasn't there studying, so he's not happy. The kids are looking for a power converter on the ship and manage to, I don't know, they want us to believe that Wim accidentally launched the ship, and I don't know how true that is or not. But either way, the ship takes off. Like, it rises up out of the ground and takes off, goes into the sky. At one point, because of all the jiggery-pokery happening inside the ship, or the shenanigans rather inside the ship, Wim almost falls out of an airlock. They pull him back in, but his dad catches and sees all of it. So his dad knows the kids are on that ship. And they're going to leave, and they're going to go past the barrier. That's the second time we hear about the phrasing, the barrier. And droids are constantly like, no, it's not possible. Isn't that blah, 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 whatever. The kids then the ship goes into hyperspace. It goes into hyperdrive, activates, boom, gone. They manage to stop the ship. It falls out of hyperdrive. That's when the droid wakes up. The droid, I think his name is SM-33. The droid is looking for the captain, and what does Fern do? She claims she ended the captain. Here it is when they discover SM-33. And she claims she killed the captain, thus making her captain. So the droid's like,
what am I to do with these stowaways? Captain.
The droid is basically like Mr. Smee from Hook. It's got a very hookish type vibes from the droid. Again, this whole thing is just a giant nostalgia fun. I had a very good time with the first 2 episodes for sure. And I do think you will too. They're literally lost in space because they're like, she managed to convince the robot. She tells him, you got to take us back where we came from. He's like, okay, where? He turns the ship around and then goes, which one of those is Adaten? Because he's got no clue what Adaten is. And she's like, So he goes, well, I know a place we can go. It's a starport, this and that. And she's like, okay, yeah, take us there. So they go to the starport. It's full of pirates. It's a pirate starport. This is literally pirates in space. And it's so when they get to the starport, they're trying to find directions. They get off, they go to the inn, they're witnessing all kinds of stuff. The kids all go in different directions, even though Fern's trying to take charge and tell them not to wander off. KB goes one direction, the boys go another. The boys find themselves in a bar, a cantina, if you will. And what do? Order food. Wim pays with his credits.
Whoa, where the blazes did you get that? Oh.
You find out he's paying with old Republic credits. That's pre-Empire Republic credits. Okay? I immediately look at Mrs. Know-It-All and I say to her, oh my God, Adaten is a hidden old Republic planet who, when everything went off, probably put up a barrier to disguise themselves, camouflage themselves, whatever. And now they're going to become exposed because every time the kids mention Adaten, the pirates are like, oh, what are you thinking about? What are you talking about? It's a fictitious place or whatever. And Adaten is supposedly like Shangri-La to these people. It's a myth. It's a mythological planet of treasure. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, wow, okay, so this is interesting. And sure enough, they manage to, they get confronted by pirates who chase them and whatnot. And eventually SM-33 shows up and he helps rescue them, only for them finally to get attacked by Captain Silva's crew. And they throw him in the brig. And that's where they meet Jude Law. And Jude Law said, they're like, we need to get that key, this and that. And Jude Law makes the key come to him. And the kids are like, you're a Jedi. And he goes, can you keep a secret? Now, I don't think he's a Jedi. He might be. He totally might be. But as of this right now, this moment, I don't think he's a Jedi. I think he's somebody who just happens to know how to manipulate or use the Force, potentially. If it's not something more practical like a magnet or something stupid like that. But I do think it's actual Force manipulation he's using. So there you go. Now you know. And if you don't have the battle, you're halfway to be a know-it-all yourself. What is the know-it-all index for this series premiere of the Skeleton Crew? I'll tell you what. Lucasfilm and Star Wars do an amazing job with the first 2 episodes of almost every series they've done. I really have to wait until next week, which, by the way, next week, the episodes shift to their normal time frame, which is going to be on Wednesday nights. I like what they're doing. I really, really do. At the same time, I'm hoping that I know we're going to have someplace to go, and I know we have to set the stage. Both episodes, while abrupt, worked together. I'm wondering how well the future episodes will do. They're telling what seems like a thought-out story. John Watts directed the very first one, and it feels every bit like that. Each director has their own talent or skill when it comes to this type of material, and I really look forward to kind of diving deep into some of that stuff as we move forward. I know like Bryce Dallas Howard's going to do some and whatnot, and there's all kinds of people get involved. So would love to hear your comments and thoughts about where you think the show is going to go. I think they're going to go on a good old-fashioned adventure. It feels wonderful. This has mixed vibes for me. Yes, all the nostalgia stuff. But when it comes to Star Wars proper, I'm getting weirdly like Ewok adventure vibes. Like those 2 Ewok movies, which were very kid-centric. And I do honestly believe those Ewok movies were actual 80s versions of kids' movies. They just didn't quite hit that mark right. And I feel like this is doing a much, much better job of that. We'll see what happens. I think so my prediction is that Jude Law is going to end up, he's going to help them in the hopes of winning his crew back. He's going to end up liking the kids and though he's going to betray the kids first, and then eventually he's going to reverse that and come back, whatever. And we'll see where all that ends up going. But yeah, my know-it-all index score for this episode is a very solid and respectable 7.5 out of 10. I need some place to go. Bottom line. And I feel like they're gonna do it. I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. So far, the storytelling works. Nothing felt clunky or odd or awkward. Other than maybe I wish the endings would have been, like, they're taking you right to the edge of a thing, and then it's doing a good job being episodic. So we'll see where the next one goes. Comment below, let me know your thoughts on the episodes. Man, I can't wait to get into all of this with you guys. All right, we'll talk again next week. Never forget, everyone loves a know-it-all.